Okay.
Hello and welcome back. I'm Rada.
I'm Alanna.
And I'm Danielle.
And today we're just going to have an informal conversation on dun 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 timeline wars. Have you heard that before?
Well, have you? What about you?
I have. It's been coming up a lot in conversations lately. It's been coming up in conversations because of weird anomalies.
Mm.
Weird dreams, weird anomalies. Danielle and I have talked about it a lot. I've had other sisters who we've talked about where people would, even Mike would say, "Oh my gosh, you were in my dream. We were doing this." And then I wake up with with things like that and or bruises, and of course I'm not like really doing anything very like physical these days, just some light stretching, yoga, but nothing serious. So the concept of timeline wars is really a multi-dimensional understanding. And we're all healers here, so we deal with the past, present, future, and parallel lifetimes. And I think a lot of these timelines are collapsing out, from my understanding. This is just me. From my understanding, a lot of these timelines are collapsing out because they're no longer relevant. Like, because there's so many timelines, they all affect each other, but some of them can be really negative or filled with endless war, right? And it doesn't serve us because, who hasn't had those dreams where you wake up and you're in total a trauma state because you just had to go and battle? Does anybody want to chime in here and know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it begs the question is if it's affecting us in our waking state, right? So we have multiple dimensions and realities that we exist on, according to, metaphysics and even science. It just, especially our dreams, we wake up and we're like, whoa, that was crazy. And the idea is it affecting us like during the day and our waking state?
Yeah.
Are we actually experiencing the trauma
Right.
of those parallel timelines or things, or our ancestors, our DNA? Because it is in our DNA what's happened to our ancestors, right? So we're acting out that. And I guess the beginning of the topic was war, over timelines, which can
Yeah.
be found in the Ascension glossary. But yeah, I think that it could be, I mean, there's so many different levels of what can be affecting us. Are we being like abducted, are we like, we just don't really understand the highest form of technology and what can be done, whether it's from extraterrestrials or,
Right.
I mean, there's things happening that we are just, it's not surface, right? So the
Very
idea of
hidden.
timeline wars.
Very hidden. And the
Yeah.
concept, there have been a lot of people that have come forward and talked about their 20 in backs, where they basically get, abducted as a child and then put into these programs that are off planet. And then they are utilized by the, military industrial complex or different corporations or whatnots. And then they're regressed back, or they're put back into the earlier timeline as a child or regress back. So I mean, so many people have been speaking about that. Also, the super soldier program, which
Oh,
I think a lot of people are getting more familiar with. These galactic aspects, people are like mutants, they're not like this body. They have different bodies that are really strong, but some people are put into
off planet.
battles, and they're getting hurt, and then they wake up feeling crushed.
I mean, we already have enough trauma from this life.
I know.
Like, what if we're actually being suppressed from different timelines
Yeah.
of these timeline wars or the wars over timelines, and the ones who are ahead in technology that commute, the ones that have placed over the AI timelines versus our organic timeline, because the
Right.
organic timeline is the present moment,
Mhm.
and anything that is interjecting that, it can be affecting us.
Yeah, I mean, it does feel like there's a lot of overlays, and a lot of, I think, you're both healers, and a lot of the things that we find sometimes are implants, holographic implants,
Yes, 100%.
black goo, like stuff you're not going to talk about in an everyday life because it's just too weird. And I've had that experience with my dog Bella, the love of my life, where she had black goo coming out of her before she passed away, and that was like, that broke my
Say that animals in your home, they take what hits you first.
Mhm.
Like that's why animals are so powerful, like to have your familiars, right? But they feel and they protect you, and that's why their life, I believe that that's why their life expectancy is a little bit a lot less than an adult human, right?
Right. And this is energy we're talking about and our subconscious. So a lot of the things that we're speaking on are it's one of those things where the subconscious remembers, our conscious doesn't. So when you're dreaming and you wake up remembering, I mean, that's a memory you ought to trust. It might be metaphorical or in nature, but if you write it down like you would like a deep dream journal, you'll come to see the connection. And we were talking recently about dreams and experiments and being shown things, and it's almost like you're on these missions, and where is this stuff coming from? The subconscious. And then you're like you were saying, Rada, the DNA, everything's kind of like coming into physical because it's either purging or it's actually happening physically because we don't know, we're unconscious, we're asleep. And yeah, that's the most interesting thing to me is because we're in a world where fear and doubt is so prominent to lower your frequency, that's your first inkling. But I would say do your best to not switch gears into that, because then it lowers your frequency. And just trust that whatever your mission is, you're divinely protected. I mean, we're all here to quote unquote raise the frequency of this planet, including ourselves and those around us. And it could be very stressful and hard because we have a lot going on just in our everyday life. However, we're so much powerful than we know. So I feel like if we could all have access to little subconscious connection through healing, like you do the past life regression, I feel like that would bring a lot of answers to some people. But yeah, we just
records,
cosmic records. Yes. I mean, the trauma is there. It's got to be healed, faced, come up so we can clear it out.
It does need to be acknowledged. So that's one thing I am so conscious of, is that some people are like, it's better not to know. And I always say that's not true, because that book, The Body Keeps Score. How much trauma do we have in our body, in our nervous system? I know for me, my nervous system feels jacked up sometimes. I have to go and be like, okay, whatever this is, I'm going to clear it. I command to clear it and work through it and breathe through it, because there are so many things that are happening that we don't know. And I think and by ignoring it and pretending everything's just fine, no, it's not. I mean, it's not just fine, it's wonderful, but it's wonderful because we're awakening, because only slaves are incapable, like, of knowing what's really going on. We have to use our intelligence to ask questions. There are no stupid questions, there are only stupid answers. And there's nothing wrong with asking questions. People get, they want to put you down if you even say something that's like outside the box. But how will we progress if we don't ask questions? Because we deserve to know what's happening to our body, our bodies in all dimensions, especially when they're affecting us. Because when you wake up with bruises all over your body, as if you've been in a battle and you're aching and you're not feeling great, you deserve to know who's utilizing your body, who's utilizing your consciousness.
Right. About it, like, you guys have activated so much in me, because I literally just listened the last couple days to a YouTube channel. Her name is Indigo Angel, and she specializes in literally probably like top-notch implant removal. I love her work, and she does remote viewing, and she's really big on speaking about these topics. And she interviewed Laura Eisenhower, and I know you guys have listened to Laura Eisenhower a lot. And so they were talking about the implants that we have, and her work is based off of that, and they come from different timelines.
Mm.
They come from those wars and those times where there's been suppressions and inquisitions, and and we have the crucifixion implants, the alien implants, and where they come from. People think, oh, well, I wasn't abducted physically, they don't remember it, right? But there's also the orphan trains where millions of children came from all around the world. I can't bring up what year it was that it happened, but it was less than 200 years ago, excuse me, less than 200 years ago. Orphans came from all over the world and they were just dropped. They don't remember them having parents, so we have to think about those generations that existed with severe trauma and how it's passed down and what it does to us. So that's just one aspect of where implants can come in, but then there's like, the physical ones. And even as you're talking, I feel the implants where they can be in my body. And in this Indigo Angel, she will show you, there's actually like a map where it shows you in the body where it is. And I've been learning that when certain things are taking place in my body, I can feel where I have restraints. And I've seen it in ceremonies before with ayahuasca, sitting with plant medicine, where I asked it to show me where I was struggling, and it'll show me, because my subconscious knows that I understand how implants work. So if you're in ceremony or if you're in meditation, you can sense and feel where you have blockages, and like you said before, how it affects our health. So we don't know we have implants that are in our body at a spiritual level, because we have different bodies, right? We have our physical, we have our pain body, we have so many different levels. Yeah, so we have these things that are popping up.
It's so true. Actually, I saw a physical implant in my hand before. It's a tiny rice grain, but I actually was able to remove it with, you'd think you'd have to surgically remove it, but I was able to remove it through prayer,
Exactly.
and commands, because you have to remember we're so much more powerful than anything out there. Like, our command, our voice, our will is powerful, and the will of the creator too. The will of the creator is what we call on to help us, that these resources are available to us. And I think it's really important to not feel like a victim to this, because we don't want to get stuck in that. We're here to break the chains, not to stay enslaved. And yeah, so I went through a recent bout of, like, I sometimes go through these like inflammation episodes, and it really affects my whole body. But I actually felt like what it was I was actually clearing out some implants, some shackles too. And and I felt them, they're around my ankles, and it was about joy. It was about the permission to be happy despite like what other people, because are going through around me, and that I don't like, if somebody's miserable around me, I feel like I have to match them. And like, you don't have to match people. We're allowed to be our own. But part of that, it isn't, these are misery programs, right? They have sexual misery programs, and all of these distortions, but our joy is it's our tool. It's our superpower, because Eros Christos, we're doing a book for him, Dolphin Odyssey, and we asked what do the dolphins really have to say? How do we honor them? And the dolphins said the greatest way to honor us is to be joyful, because that expression is the expression of the dolphin, and that's why they're here, so joy is important. Being happy is important.
Sorry, I'm gonna mute.
And children are so important, protecting children, making sure they're happy, they're joyful, they're taken care of. That's important. Protecting them, loving them, being with them, not ostracizing them, and being, they don't have to be in another room when we're doing a Zoom. They can be in the room because they're part of us, right? So yes to joy.
Yes, I wanted to add because I actually just listened to an interview about the child predators that are on the internet, and like how hacking is becoming such a big hacking into this system, people stealing identities or whatever. You brought up protecting the children, and part of the implants, what happens when we're given those implants, no matter where you got them from, is they can block your heart, and they can block you, and then you end up having the black goo, which I consider to be the black heart network that's created to get people out of their heart and into out of their compassion and their joy, and stealing the joy, eating it, right? That's the monsters eating the souls, like they're eating that. And the children, because they're not protected, because if you think about generations and how far we've come to literally seeing like what has been done to children. But those implants, what they do is they block us from our heart, from that innocence, and therefore they behave from that lower space, because it keeps you locked and out of your heart and out of because it's all connected, right? Spiritually, the heart, the head, the genitals, right? You're thinking from the lower mind, the lower astral, and not from the higher mind, which is our heaven on earth.
Yes. Yeah.
Our divine blueprint that is like holy and pure. And so these implants take us off of that. And these wars, these timeline wars, everything that connects back to that is to literally take innocence and to block that divine love coming through, right?
The purity.
And so you made me think of that, because I have been like listening to that lately, and just like it's really rampant. The evil is here. We have to really be vigilant. Vigilant, is that the word? Diligent? Diligent at like doing the work, right? And having these conversations, and talking about the darkness that exists, so we can fight it and be aware.
Yeah, and the health aspect, I feel like a lot of people in the health and wellness community, they'll talk about detoxing and things of that nature, and that actually helps the physical body. So then you're able to have more clarity, and these spiritual beliefs, or whatever you call it, the awareness and understanding of the conscious, subconscious, your mind starts opening. It's like the Trinity, the mind, body, spirit. So when you talk about purity, I think purification. So anything we can do to purify our mind, body, and spirit, it's only going to help us rise in frequency. And therefore, our answers to some of these, like what is going on, is going to start coming from within, and you're going to know. And then you'll be connected community and tribe, like what we're doing. So this has been a fascinating conversation.
It takes a lot of responsibility, right?
Yes.
And really like accepting that there could be things going on that you're not aware of, and to really look at it. Like you said earlier, there's so much that we just don't know what's happening. So we have to do the work and just check in with ourselves and work with healers and be open-minded to your galactic self.
Yes. Our galactic selves are coming online. And I think that's why so many of us are getting more memories. And, by getting the memories, they're not always great either, right? So there is a lot of trauma involved, and unpacking that responsibly and understanding that we have the power to do so, it's our birthright, and that's why we're here to remember. So many of us have been born into this as healers, or from lineages of healers, because part of our job is not just to help us, like as we're discovering this, we're having these conversations so that we could be of service to others, because this is the message: you're not alone. Everyone feels so alone and scared, and so what do? They just shut down, right? Or they harm themselves. And we don't have to do that. We've had enough harm. We've had enough harm. Now we need to love ourselves and forgive ourselves, and forgive that we've chosen sometimes to take those journeys that were really, really harsh, and we're really reclaiming our soul fractals now, and that's what it's about. We are collecting our soul fragments, our soul fractals, because as we do, we become more whole. There's so much we are putting together now, and so much more. In 5 years, imagine if we have this conversation again, there's going to be so much that shifted within us, so many awakenings, so many pieces of our soul that we've reclaimed and we've cleared and we've healed, and we put them back where they belong, into this timeline, into this version of us. So
and you do that in your sessions. You do that in your sessions.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, I do. So soul retrieval is something I do. And you know, we all do healing here. So we'll put everybody's information below so you can contact anybody here and get any support you want or need.
Even if you just want to have conversations.
Yeah. Exactly. It's so refreshing to have conversations like this, because you just realize, wow, you're not the only one, and that we're actually better together. We're putting the pieces of the puzzle together, and we can bring a piece and put it together, and that's how we become whole. So
in what ways do you have the imposter spirit?
What's that?
The imposter spirit, like asking the people watching, just in what ways are we not being true to ourselves? Are we being really judgmental to ourselves? Because sometimes it's not really even like you that's doing that. The judge that's been added on, right? If we clear away the dust on the heart and like let it become light, healed, and we can actually enjoy this life and bring joy into our life. Like you said, forgive the mistake, the things, because usually they're just set up for us to awaken.
Yeah.
That pain is like literally, when we turn it into positive, there's gold there. And like, because I think that God's spirit knows that we're in a place of suffering, and it's really about redemption and redeeming our soul. And like, we're just beautiful children of like trying to learn here on this earth. And so just bringing it back to that space.
And returning to our innocence, because I think there is an innocence that lives in each one of us. And from that innocence, there's so much joy and beauty, you know, and I think we can come back to that. That's what we're doing every time we bring back our soul. And I love having him around, because it just brings that joy, that beauty, that's why children are so special. So we must protect them and, you know, let them know that they're so valued and so loved. And so are you ladies. Thank you so much for joining us today. Until next time, much love and blessings. Bye for now.